Hi, I'm Kurt.
And I'm Maggie.
We thank you for being here. This is the fourth lesson of our four lesson series, and we want to thank you once again for subscribing to these lessons. It means a lot to us, and we hope you're getting a lot of value out of it too. Today, we want to talk about new ways and new profits and give you an idea of just how much smart branding and MBM marketing can give your company.
Exactly, Kurt. And one of the first ways that smart branding is really a very new way of approaching branding is the fact, as we've talked about a lot, we focus internally in your organization. So the voices that you are hearing from in the smart branding process are those voices of the people who know and live and deliver on your brand every day. The wonderful byproducts of this internal focus and listening to the voices of the people that work in your organization and know and live your brand is the fact that these people feel heard. And this was a really surprising added benefit to the smart branding process, was that when your people feel heard, morale increases. All of a sudden, you're going to see more energy and excitement within
Exactly.
your organization as we go through the smart branding process.
And another thing that makes this different from the traditional branding process is that what Maggie just described is done in a positive fashion, a positive inquiry. Often consultants come in looking for the ugliest bits that they can find, and that's not what we're about. Our questions of people are always positioned in a positive way. We'll encounter some negative information along the way, but uh, that bounces off people like us because we're an outside vendor and we're not personally involved like your HR department or your C-suite might be, and influencing what people feed back to you.
Exactly. And I don't think that we've talked about the smart branding process, but I don't think that we've really outlined the 5 steps in the smart branding
Great.
process. So let me do that for you really quickly. The first step is your brand assessment. Number 2, brand alignment. And we talked a lot about alignment before.
Right.
Brand optimization, brand maximization, and then brand actualization. And chose that word very specifically for the 5th step in our process. If we think about, we all learned in Psych 101 in college about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when you get to the very top of the hierarchy, you are living your best life. You're actualizing who you are as an individual. And that's the same with the brand actualization process or step in our process. It's the pinnacle of the pyramid of our brand work, so that your organization and your people are living and breathing your best, most authentic
Right.
brand every day. And what happens in that 5th step is where we have not just given you everything that we've learned about your authentic brand and made the recommendations and things that Kurt's going to talk about in just a minute. When we get to that brand actualization process, we actually stay with you on a regular, ongoing consulting basis to help make sure that your people, your processes, your technology continue to be aligned with your authentic brand.
Because of the way we structure our inquiry, it's a fortunate byproduct of this new way of doing branding is that uh, often your people will pop up with strategic or tactical ideas that may never have occurred to you, and we're able to take those away from our inquiry, refine them, and present them to the C-suite along with priorities and timelines and so forth to put them in place.
And part of when we do that, we're going to give you, for each step in that 5-step process, there'll be strategies and tactics and timelines and
Oh, well said.
priorities
Thank you.
and budgets And, we talk, the S in smart branding stands for strategic, and it's not just strategic for your brand, but how we approach everything that we uncover
Right.
for your authentic brand. And Kurt mentioned before, one of the ways that smart branding is different is this positive inquiry approach. And an offshoot of that is the fact that as we go throughout our 5-step process, we're constantly uncovering strengths and gaps in where your authentic brand is in alignment and out of alignment. And one of the interesting pieces to that is the strengths part, that we often uncover strengths in your brand that you might not be aware of. Certainly, there are people at certain levels in your organization, often customer facing people, but not only are you not aware of these strengths, your advertising agency or your internal marketing department
Well
isn't
said.
aware of them as well.
Yeah.
And so we're going to come back to you with not just the gaps in alignment, but where there are uncovered or hidden strengths that you're not aware of, so that you can focus your marketing and advertising efforts on those aspects of your brand that your customers really love.
As I'm sure you've seen, there are some striking ways that this new way of doing business and new way of approaching branding can really do a lot for your organization. And we're going to talk now about how that can lead to greater profitability. We've talked about how uncovering strengths and gaps in an organization can do a great deal to improve its profitability and its effectiveness. One of our clients early on had two groups of cohorts that fundamentally had a lot of respect for one another. But it turns out that when things got tough, they always distrusted one another. And that was because each group thought that the other group was being told something different than they were. Simple fix. We went directly to the CEO and said, listen, bring these two groups together in one meeting, say the same thing. They'll know for sure that they're all hearing the same thing. And he said, absolutely, we can do that. And it was a fix that came that easily. Many of the recommendations that we'll be making are much longer term than that, but quick fixes, they're always a joy to put into place.
Absolutely. And new profits, profitability is as much about eliminating costs as it is finding new ways to make money.
Right.
And there are a couple of ways that smart branding specifically is going to help eliminate some costs in an organization. And the first is the fact that we talked about in previous videos. When an organization not only is there the disruption and chaos both within the organization and within the marketplace, but there's huge expenses when it comes to the focus groups. We talked about the chocolate, because
Yeah.
can't forget the chocolate. But then the logos and the taglines and the new websites and the bus wraps and the signage and all of the training that needs to go into it. And by approaching your brand through the smart branding process, you're going to eliminate all
A
of
lot of
those
that.
costs, because we're looking at your authentic brand, which is what brought you to where you are today. And the second piece of eliminating costs is actually really thinking about maximizing your expenses. So, as a reminder, a smart brand is strategic, measurable, authentic, renewed, and truthful. And it's that truthful piece that means that when your advertising agency or your internal marketing department is putting out your marketing messages and creating your advertising, if they're basing it on your smart brand, then everything they're saying is truthful, which means that you can deliver 100% on those brand promises. So you are maximizing your marketing efforts. I think it was, I don't know, somebody like in the 1950s, it said, "Oh, I know that 50% of my marketing budget works. I just don't know which 50% it is." Well, we truly believe with a smart brand that your marketing and advertising dollars are going to be 100% effective.
Exactly. We've mentioned that we start each project by meeting with the C-suite and sitting down and making sure that our goals are clearly stated. We know where we're going. We know what you want, and at the most basic level, companies that are stalled and want to continue to grow are looking for two things: retention, both of employees and customers that they currently have, and also acquisition. And that, once again, is new employees and new customers that are going to be added. Since we're working toward those goals, as you are, of course, we're going to be a whole lot more aligned in what we do for you.
Absolutely. We've talked about return on investment as a critical piece of our efforts from the beginning, and having those shared goals from the very beginning between our company and yours will help really maximize your profitability. The last thing that I want to say about new ways of profits is we have found that companies that embrace their smart brand, their authentic brand, um, and have gone through the smart branding 5-step process are their people are unified, they are engaged, they are energized around this authentic brand because it's truthful. Remember, it comes from the voices that know and live your brand every day. Which means that your entire organization is fortified. There's a strength to a company that is unified and engaged and energized around an authentic brand that is almost invincible.
Yeah,
We can't say invincible
well
because
said.
it's um, well fortified, and all of that adds up to an organization that is really thriving. And when you have a thriving organization, the sky's the limit to what you can accomplish.
That's absolutely so. We'd also like to talk just a little bit about why we do what we do. You've now heard a great deal about what we do, but there's a real fundamental reason why we're in
Mhm.
this business and why we enjoy doing this.
There are two pieces to it, really. One piece is that we fundamentally believe that there are ways to make this world a better place. And we want to be a part of making a difference for those companies that have great leaders and they're great organizations and they're focused on the greater good and they're making the world a better place. You know, we're not brain surgeons. We're not necessarily feeding the hungry on a day-to-day basis, but what we do have are three unique skill sets that combined are really powerful. And that is the fact that we listen objectively, we think strategically, and we communicate clearly. And we believe that that set of skills is unique and important and can make a real difference for those companies who are making the world a better place. So we believe it's our moral obligation to put our skills to good use for companies that are doing great things in the world.
And we think you'll see that in every interaction you have with us along the way. Um, we want to be a great company and make a difference in the world. And we want to help other companies accomplish the same thing. We believe in you, and we'll demonstrate that as we go through our 5 steps.
Absolutely. So thank you again so much for, yay, you've made it through the last of the 4-lesson video series. Thank you for your time and your attention and for what you're doing to make the world a better place. We would love to have a conversation with you to talk further As a matter of fact, if you want to email us, it's info@mbmmarketing.com. And let's set up a time and have a free 30-minute consultation and talk a little bit further about what we can do together.
Yes, absolutely. Get better acquainted and set the groundwork for what we're going to accomplish with you. Thanks again for subscribing to this 4-lesson series. Let me add my thanks to Maggie's, and we hope to see you soon.